Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to do a fun art project inspired by our Renaissance artist, Leonardo da Vinci. This one has to do with a really cool technique he used better than anybody had ever used it before that helped make his paintings look like the background was farther back than the people in front. Now, our painting in particular that we'll look at is called Virgin of the Rocks. And so we're going to take a look at it here, and we'll put a bigger image up for you on the screen. So kids, looking at this painting, Virgin of the Rocks, we've got a whole bunch of people in the foreground. They're the most important part of the painting, with the Virgin Mary and the angel and Jesus and John the Baptist as babies. But what do you notice about this small area here as the background? Anything in particular? You can talk. Anything that you notice about this background that goes back? The background is something that goes farther back.
The farther back it goes, the lighter it gets.
Absolutely. It gets lighter the farther back it goes. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Do you see that too?
Yeah.
All right. Blondie was totally right. As the background goes back, it gets lighter. And this is due to something called atmospheric perspective. Can everyone say that?
Atmospheric perspective.
Atmospheric perspective. Do you recognize a word in that first part? Atmospheric?
Atmosphere.
Atmosphere. Right. And what is atmosphere?
It is the air.
Yeah, it has to do with the air. It has to do with the air around our Earth before you get way out there into space, right? Mm-hmm. Now, that air is full of molecules and all sorts. I'm not going to get too deep into science here. You can. This is one of our other videos with Leonardo da Vinci shows how math is involved. This one shows how science is. So we've got all those molecules in the air building up. And so the farther away a mountain is, maybe in the background, the more of those air molecules there are in between it, and our eyes see it as much, much lighter. And, especially on a sunny day, we see it as bluer as it goes back.
What if we didn't have eyes?
If we didn't have eyes, it would be tough to see that.
Yeah.
So, the farther away something is, the lighter it is, and it has this bluish tinge to it. So if we had a mountain here, and then we had a mountain behind it, what would be different about those two mountains?
This one would be lighter.
This one would be lighter, and we could go on and on and on. Have you ever gone on a hike to a really high mountain, and you could look out and you could see super, super far away? I know you guys have, because I've taken you on such hikes.
Yeah.
And way out in the distance, it's super blue and light. And something else, do you see lots of details far away? You do?
No.
No. The farther away it goes, the less details we can see too. So we no longer see an individual trees in a forest. We just see kind of like the green of the forest, and the farther away it goes, that green actually becomes blue. Now, if you live somewhere like Arizona, where it's more deserty, your color scheme's going to be a little different. We live in the Pacific Northwest, so we see greens and blues everywhere we look. All right, so our project is a simple one. And it's a good one because it gets us practicing mixing our colors too. Now, we are basically going to draw mountain ranges, paint mountain ranges going farther and farther back in the distance. If you want to, you can draw it out first, sketch your mountain ranges, but you really don't even have to, because this is a fun exercise. This is great for young kids. Goose here is only 4, and she's going to do a fantastic job at it. And even for older kids, like in high school age, this is a great warm-up activity where you could really get some experience with your mixing of your colors. Now, I never hand out my paintbrushes until we're ready to paint. So first, let me just show you real quickly how to do it. And you're going to do it so much better than me because I'm doing it super fast. We have 2 colors on our palettes here, white and blue. And for younger kids, I recommend separating them, not putting them on a plate or a palette, but putting them in different little cups, like applesauce cups that we save. So we're going to start out, our farthest away mountain range is going to be the lightest, right?
Yeah.
So basically, we're going to paint it white, but we're going to get 1 dab of blue on our paintbrush and mix that with our white. So it just barely has a little bit of color. And we'll go ahead and paint that far away horizon line. And you'll fill it in. You'll paint a little bit beneath it. There you go. Can you even see anything there? It's so light. Maybe not. Now, ideally, if you want to spend a little more time on this, have a little more perfect, you'd probably wait for that to dry. We're just going to keep going. So now, I've got this light one and this blue. Now I'm going to take a little bit more blue and mix it again. Probably more than one scoop this time because I want it to start getting darker. And you'll go ahead and have your second mountain range.
It's dark. Wait,
Yeah, that one got a lot darker, huh? It's great. And there you can see my second mountain range. Now I'm going to take a big scoop of blue and mix that into my white for my third one. I think I'm probably going to fit 4 on my page. If you spend a little more time on it, you could probably fit more than that.
Yeah.
You can have your page vertical, horizontal, totally up to you. So see, I'm not being even very creative with the shapes of my mountain range. My paintbrush fell apart. I know you'll do a better job. And there's my third one. It's gotten a little bit closer. And my last one, I'm going to just use the pure blue so that it's nice and dark. So fill that in, take your time, do a fabulous job, and be proud of your results. All right, now it's their turn. So Goose, here's your paintbrush. Remember, you're going to start out by just 1 dab of blue into your white and mixing it around. And that'll be your farthest back mountain range. Now my older kids have paint on just a little paper plate. Now we could use palettes, but none of our palettes are clean right now, so we just use some paper plates, which work great. And have fun with this. This is an important skill, being able to mix your colors, because the more colors you mix, the more interesting your paintings are going to be. Paintings aren't quite as interesting when we use paints straight out of a tube.
Mommy, this does it.
Ooh, look at how it's mixing. You could have some tall mountains in there. Again, if you live like in a deserty place, maybe you have plateaus instead of tall peaky mountains.
Yeah.
Now, if you wanted to go a little bit further with this, you could get some green on your palette too, because as those mountain ranges get closer, you might see a little bit more green of the trees in the forest. Good. All right, keep going, Goose.
Mom.
That one wasn't much darker. Maybe you need a little more blue in it. And that brings up something important as you do it. If your next closer layer really is no different, you got to add more blue.
Mom.
Go ahead and go back and add more blue.
Sometimes it turns white.
Sometimes it turns white.
Yeah.
Okay. It's usually actually harder to get something to turn white than it is to get it to turn blue. So as I said, this is a great warm-up even for older students. And as an extension, I would then suggest using these skills to paint a real scene. Maybe go outside if you live somewhere where you can see far off in the horizon and do what's called plein air painting, which is painting outside in fresh air on site. Or I'm going to put a link to my blog where I will post a number of photos that I've taken that show this, this atmospheric perspective. And you can use them to paint from. I'd love to see your results. Go ahead and email them to me, or put them in the comments. Love to see what you do. But use those photos or photos you've taken and try to paint a real scene using these skills of mixing these colors and having that atmospheric perspective show depth. Now, if you don't use atmospheric perspective in a painting, what happens?
It won't look as real.
It won't look as real. In particular, it won't look like it has any depth. It will look like somebody just flattened it. Like you're painting a scene that's really just a picture. It'll look 2D. Now, our paper we're painting on is 2D, and so as painters, we're kind of like magicians, trying to make it look like a 2D paper is actually 3D, and this atmospheric perspective is just one of the ways that we can do that. And like I said, Leonardo da Vinci did this better than anybody had done in the past. It's something indicative of Renaissance painters that they started to figure some of these things out. You definitely mix some great colors there. Do you think we can do one at the bottom? One mountain at the bottom that's really dark blue? Here you go. Try and do one more layer of mountains at the bottom that's a nice dark blue. Before you keep filling in that, can we show the camera?
Yeah.
Awesome work, dude. Got a nice range, nice spectrum of colors there. All right, so we're starting to wrap it up here. Blondie
has pretty much finished. Look at that great mixing of colors, the great atmospheric perspective displayed by going from darker to light. Goose went on to new adventures. Dude decided to add some extra lines of the dark in there to have fun with it. But thank you for joining us. This is one of those projects too where it's the process more than even the end product that's important. It's that process of mixing those colors, of learning this new skill of using atmospheric perspective to show depth. If you want to take it a step further, on my blog at artimmersionblog.blogspot.com, I will post a number of pictures that have this phenomenon in them, that we took from tall mountains we'd hiked or something, where you can see that distant horizon and how it gets bluer and lighter as it goes far off in the distance. Take one of those photos or one of your own and try and paint a real scene. Try and use that in that picture to add depth to your own picture. And if you do that, please email me or include your picture in the comments. I'd love to see your work. I'd love to see what you did. Please join us again. Go ahead and like or subscribe so that you don't miss out on a single video. And check out my blog. As I said, I'll add extra links for additional projects, and we'll have a couple more videos by our artist Leonardo da Vinci before we move on to a new Renaissance artist who you'll have to guess in our Guess Who Into video. So stay tuned. And as always, have fun and keep being creative.